back to the University Death Pool podcast, where we track which colleges might be next to shut their doors forever. Is it grim? Yes. Is it useful? Also yes. But we're diving into what it means when your alma mater shows up on a list like this, and why some schools are just hanging on by a thread. So on today's episode, we're going to chat a little bit more about the statistics behind this research. So we do have a list of all these schools. What are our top three?
Top three, are you talking about the best ones?
Yeah.
Wow. The best ones, by far and away, number one is Liberty University, and they've been doing great stuff. I don't know how much of this you want me to talk about, but they have the combination of having a lot of money. They have some very strong academics, big class sizes, and they're in a really good market. They're doing a lot of things right. They have a very defined market, and they bring in a lot of people who fit that market segment, and they do a good job teaching them. And plus, they don't shy away from the most profitable source of higher education, and that's online and distance education. And they do a really good job with it. So they do a great job.
Yeah, were they doing online before the whole COVID, when everyone went online?
Yeah, they were an early adopter for online, so they've learned things along the way, and they've really dialed it in to where not only are these classes enjoyable to the students, but the students actually learn, and they're able to assess that, and they leave the university and they make a really good income. So they do a pretty good job with that. Just to kind of give you an idea of how big they are, and I've kind of common sized this to like the amount of the first-time full-time freshman class. For every one of their new students that come in, they have about $500,000 in the bank, just in the savings. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. They do an excellent job. And if there's ever any universities, specifically faith-based universities, that are like, hey, what is the blueprint in order to be really effective and strong financially in this market? Take a look and see what Liberty's doing. Now, it's not a university for everybody, honestly. It's a university that has big classes, so if you're the student who doesn't want a big class, you might want to go somewhere else. I mean, what does everybody else think about it? Have you all heard of Liberty? I mean, you guys are very quiet. You can't just give me time.
Before starting this, the answer was no. I'd never heard of it. After starting it, I got a million ads because that's how Google likes. But no, I'd never heard of it. But yeah, then once I started getting all those adverts and stuff, it was like, online school, because I'd always gotten online school ads for like Purdue Global and stuff like that.
Western Governors, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask one specific question, because when we started doing this, I know I had my preconceived notions about who would be number one, and what burbled to the top for me was like, it's got to be Harvard, right? That's what you think. What did you guys think? Did you have any predictions? Nick, Grant, Lydia, William?
I kind of assumed Harvard as well, just because they're always at the top of everything. Like, when you think of the best in universities, it's always Harvard. But then when you kind of look into it, they only accept a certain amount of people into it, and that's where they lose out on it, is Liberty brings in so many people, and as we talked about, online schools, what does the best for them.
And so how are online schools better financially? You don't need a classroom, right?
Correct. Yeah, you don't have to house them. You don't have to pay for a teacher to be at the school. You're paying less for a teacher to be at home, and that teacher can teach so many more people by doing online schooling.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like we don't see the Harvard, the Stanfords, the MITs up at the top of the list. They just seem to be slightly below the online schools,
Do you think that that's because, like a Harvard or an Ivy League school, they have so much in the way of beautiful facilities that they have to upkeep, that they have to, there's so much of that.
They're old.
Yeah.
I mean, Harvard's the oldest, university in the United States. It is old. So
Is
I
it
wouldn't.
older than me, do you think?
Maybe, I don't know. I was pushing the line. But it's I would think that it would take a lot of upkeep to, especially with the old Gothic style. Those things
Yeah.
are gorgeous, but
Beautiful,
they're old.
Beautiful. They're no doubt about it.
So, especially with a campus that big and such a big populous city in the Northeast, we would see how that would just be money, which an online school does not have to deal with at all.
And so, kind of breaking news when it comes to Liberty, their board approved just recently in their budget that they're going to continue capital spending and make sure that any excess money gets added to that endowment. So that big juggernaut of money that they are able to live off the interest is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I mean, good for them. Honestly, good for them.
Do you think there's a cap to how big that school can grow?
I would say that, when it comes to, there are bigger universities out there, and but there comes a point where there's universities that focus so much on online that they have to be careful, because then they start getting that reputation, rightly or wrongly, that they become more of a not a real school, that it's just online classes. There's not really a lot of face-to-face. And let me be clear, Liberty has a very strong face-to-face presence. But right now, they're paying their bills, I think, just looking at it through some of that distance education, which is solid and it's great, but you got to be careful, because as students, and you're probably the right person to ask, where do you've all done online classes and you've all done on-site classes. Where do you think you learn the most?
Personally, I do better in in-person classes.
Yeah.
But for the person that can't afford time to be going to school all
I get
day,
that.
like the part-timer,
Yeah.
if you're like my sister, for example, my older sister, she does online classes through the University of Virginia.
Yeah.
And that's, how she's been getting her degree over the past 6 years now. She works at Trader Joe's in the morning and does online classes in the evenings,
Absolutely, and there's a very important spot for that. Working adults, people in the military, these are all important things for online. My only thing with my experience in higher education is online and distance education is a necessary element, but it can't be 100% of your business model. You need to have a very robust, traditional face-to-face experience as well. Because when I'm teaching an online class and I see that there's a student that might need some help, sometimes I don't know right away, and it's hard to reach them. If they're in the class right in front of me, I can just ask them. I can just be like, hey, that didn't seem like it hit. Let's talk about that. Yeah.
So then we've got number 2 as Southern New Hampshire University.
Yeah.
And then number 3 is Sacred Heart University. Let's talk a little bit about both of those.
Yeah, Southern New Hampshire University. Where they're strong is they've got a lot of liquidity. They're very, very strong. As I take a look at Southern New Hampshire, another thing that really kind of stands out to them, whereas their endowment for first-time, full-time isn't as high as Liberty, it's still pretty strong, but they do a really good job managing their assets and keeping their liabilities low. And when you take a look at the expenses that they spend to support that university, they keep them low. They're really conservative about that. So they're also, a point of emphasis for them is they have a process and a policy set to support what they consider to be robust student support. And I think that comes through for them, because as a student, when you go to a place and you feel supported, you're more likely to come back that next year. And as a university, that's something that's very sensitive. We always like to focus on retention, because as hard as it is to get new students, it's almost impossible to get students back that have left. Sacred Heart University, as the name says, it's one of our faith-based universities, and you'll see a lot of these faith-based universities that are not-for-profit. Great operating margin, strong assets, a nice, robust endowment for its size, and just done really well. They've actually started launching a school for performing arts, which seems to be kind of an interesting pivot for them, because fine arts, as much as we love having those, they're not considered to be like a profit center for a university, only because a lot of the fine arts students, statistically speaking, get a lot of scholarships. So that's something that they have decided to do in line with their mission, and they do a really good job fundraising. So they do great.
You mentioned that they're a faith-based university. What is their, what's it called?
Their denomination?
Yeah.
Yes, there you go.
You know, I don't know off the top of my head, honestly. I would like to say that I was able to memorize all 1,500 universities in every.
Right.
But I failed you on that one, Lydia. We could probably look. Don't we have like a researcher that can just kind of look that?
Yeah, we can look that up.
I
real quick.
think I see somebody hammering away at there. But what is your question behind the question? Is it like which is it Catholic?
It's a Roman Catholic university,
Okay.
Roman Catholic.
and it's also on the East Coast. If just to make that aware.
Yeah, okay, so it's an East Coast Roman Catholic university. I believe Sacred Heart is in Connecticut, right?
Yes.
Which is an interesting thing, because when it comes to market saturation, you see the East Coast as being highly saturated for universities. But typically, Catholic universities seem to be pretty strong overall, because there are students who are in the Catholic faith that will only consider going to a Catholic university. They've gone to Catholic high schools, they went to Catholic grade schools, and they go to Catholic colleges. So they have a pretty good pipeline. Now, when it comes to like other denominations, like for instance, we all go to, or I work at a university that embodies the Quaker faith. And, you know, there's a lot of students who are Quakers, but they can go anywhere. And they typically, and there's a lot fewer of them than there are Catholics. So I think that is a positive thing for them as well.
Yeah. I would love to kind of switch directions here,
You want
and
to talk about the bad stuff?
I want to talk about the bottom three. We've had
train
so much
wrecks.
good. We need a little bit of bad.
Why do you do
Starting
that?
fires now.
Why do you do that?
So, Clinton College.
Clinton College, okay. And that's in South Carolina. A lot of competition there. You're talking the heart of SEC country, right? Isn't that SEC country for my student athletes? So like, you know, we have a Division I university here in Wichita, Kansas as well. We have Wichita State University. But one of the things that I found out in SEC country is there are young people, as soon as they're able to walk, they already know what university they want to go to. They're either screaming "Roll Tide" or they're like a bulldog or whatever it is. And so, if you are a liberal arts university in that chunk of the country, I believe that the battle to get students is harder. It's a little bit harder, and that's what you're seeing with Clinton College. And I don't know if they have a denomination, but one of the things that they have working against them is they have no endowment, nothing. And for those who are just kind of casual listeners, what the endowment is it's kind of like that savings account that you have that you can tap into in case of an emergency. It's something that you can spend every year, the interest on it, to fund operations. They're kind of operating without a net. And that's a scary place to be. Like Clinton College, this is something that I'll talk about later, I think. They are one bad hailstorm away from not having a college. Their assets are decent, but there's a lot of fixed assets there, a lot of liabilities, and the expenses are extraordinarily high. And when we also look at other metrics, and I did write down some, thin liquidity. So that means if something happens, they really don't have much in way of like an opportunity to cover those unanticipated expenses. It's a small institution, and so that means that it's susceptible to enrollment swings. Like, for instance, if like you've got a big university like Liberty University and it has like a 7% negative swing in enrollment, it can weather that. But Clinton University, as well as it does in a lot of things, they're like a butterfly in a hurricane. It's going to be really tough for them. So recently, local reporting shows and indicates that leadership stresses stability amid federal aid processing shifts. So what I'm being told here, and this was something from WBTV.com, is this isn't quite a crisis, but it is something that is concerning to them. The changes in the FAFSA. Y'all remember the FAFSA last year, and it took forever to get it done.
Yeah.
There was like a delay in the FAFSA.
Yeah.
A bigger university can kind of weather that, but a university like Clinton College, if it didn't get that money for the FAFSA on time, then that makes it to the point where maybe they can't pay some bills. Maybe they can't make payroll. And so they're on kind of a razor's edge. You had another one here, and I don't want to steal your thunder, is Metropolitan
Metropolitan College of New York.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
College of New York, okay.
Yes.
And so I don't know what you guys have heard but when it comes as far as market saturation, as far as who you're competing against, this is in New York City.
Yeah.
New
York.
I mean, come on. It's. I mean, what do you think of when you think of New York City? Possibly a lot of potential students, but also a lot of competition, right?
Yeah.
You got your Columbia, your NYU, Juilliard.
Juilliard?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also like in not too far away from, I don't know how far it is geographically away from the kind of the New England, Boston area that is just filthy with universities. They're all over the place. So some of the things, net assets historically are negative or near zero. And what net assets are, I mean, this is kind of in the weeds a little bit, but if they were a not-for-profit university, that would be what we would call, they are not-for-profit. If they were for-profit, it's what we would call equity. So it's the difference between your assets and your liabilities, what you own and what you owe. And they don't have a lot of margin there. So I am looking at, and it was reported by MSCHE, which I believe is the accrediting body. I don't know if you guys can look up what MSCHE is. Just do MSCHE and accreditation maybe. And according to what I'm seeing here in June 26th of 2025, they placed this university in what's called a non-compliance show cause. And what that means is September 2nd of 2025, which happened, there is a deadline, and according to that deadline, this university is still accredited, but it requires additional compliance reports and other things. And typically, when universities get a little problematic with accreditors, it doesn't really have much to do with the quality of the education. It has to do with being solvent financially. Were you able to find anything on that?
I did. So MSCHE, hopefully I got that right, it refers to an institutional accreditation, which is the Middle State Commission on Higher Education. So there's kind of a handful there.
Yeah, and if you do a search on MSCHE and the Metropolitan College of New York, does anything come up? Because the reason I ask is what I had just talked about stated a deadline that happened in the past. And so just wondering what that is. Maybe?
Quick Googling.
Yeah.
It says the Metropolitan College of New York remains accredited while on show cause.
Okay.
Show cause.
So
So we were able to validate that. And so
Correct.
typically what happens in that September 2nd, they had to probably submit a report indicating why they are okay. And then at that point, that accrediting body takes some time to review it before they provide their findings. And usually these accrediting bodies do their level best to help out these universities. And so honestly, we don't want to see any universities close, but let's keep them in our thoughts and our prayers to make sure that everything goes through okay.
Yeah. So this last one, this is actually a unique case. As of when we ran our data last,
When was that again?
the end of April of this year.
Okay, yeah. So after that,
Yeah, so Hodges University in Florida was listed as our bottom university. And when I was doing research to prepare for this podcast, I actually found out that they have since closed. So that
I
is.
mean, we don't like hearing that, right?
We don't like hearing that for them, but
It's another way to back up
for
our
us,
what
yeah,
we're doing.
it's validating for our research for
Validates
sure.
our formula, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, as we talk about this, if somebody can kind of take a look, whoever has a computer, as far as the closure and if there's any reasons why.
Yeah, see if it was an academic or a market saturation issues. You see.
And it's going to be financial. It seems like it always is.
Yeah.
But
But I mean, that kind of plays into all of it at the end of the day.
yeah,
you know?
I mean, we've actually seen, and then Hodges, unfortunately, is another one that we've seen when we issued our analysis, our death pool, that lists the healthiest to ones that we think are most in jeopardy when it comes to closing. We've seen throughout this last year a handful of universities close, and they were always in that category that we labeled as critical. And so it does validate the model. And in this type of a situation, Hodges closed, according to what I'm hearing. And can you validate that?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of research just now, and it looks like they kind of expected this to happen. So in August of 2023, they actually announced their intention of closure for the next year. So they stopped enrolling new students, and then ultimately August 2024, they seized all operations, and it kind of gave a brief reasoning of just declining enrollment, which we talked about, and also ensuing financial challenges that also happened.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Whenever I hear about this, I always think about like the alumni who, there are people that graduated at Hodges like 25 years ago. They still have the banner on their wall and, have some really fond memories. Maybe they met their significant other and fell in love. You never know what happened. But now that's no longer. And we're going to see more and more and more of it. To go back to what we had talked about earlier, there were some very, very smart researchers who predicted a 25% decline in this area of liberal arts, faith-based, well, not even faith-based, but liberal, not-for-profit universities. And in this day and age, there's always that argument about who cares, right? Who cares? Who needs not-for-profit universities? You can all just go to the state schools. Well, is that great for every student? It's great for some. If you don't mind having to do research, if you don't mind being in a auditorium with 500 of your closest friends studying Introduction to Psychology, it's fine. It's fine. But for those students who need something else that Hodges and Metropolitan and Clinton can offer, which would be smaller, more intimate types of learning experiences, I think that there's something to be said for that. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, you guys are really the people that are on the edge of this.
I mean, all of us here go to a non-for-profit, private, relatively small university.
Yeah.
It's whenever I came here, I started coming here in high school. But the main reason I fell in love with the school is because of how interpersonal it is with all the professors and stuff. Like I knew half the professors I'm having classes with now already. Before I was even here. It's you don't get that whenever you have like a big university. There's so much faculty, there's so much staff, there's so much people that like there's a good possibility you meet someone and then never see them again for the rest of the time you're at that university.
Yeah, and you know what? There are some people who just love playing football, and they're just not going to be able to walk on to the Auburn University. And so for some of these smaller not-for-profit universities, they're able to continue on their athletic dreams too. I think that that's good. And plus, I mean, honestly, one of the things that all of these not-for-profit universities do really well is to teach students to be more than just being merely technically proficient. They kind of educate the entire person, how to be an effective communicator, how to be an effective leader, a good project manager, ethics. We talk about ethics all the time, and just forging relationships and working in a group like this. We've been doing this for like 2 years, right? And so,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good stuff, I mean, really. But sad stuff. So as much as we, I mean, what am I talking about?
That's fair. Yeah.
I mean, as much as we can admire Liberty University, I mean, that's great. They're doing great. They deserve their success. We're also, like, sad to hear about some of these other universities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really comes down to, like, what you want out of your college experience.
Yeah.
It's like you can't only have like one style because not everyone learns the same way. It would be like having only one kind of restaurant across the whole country. You only have fast food. Well, that works for some people, but like not for others.
Yeah.
So you need that variety and choice for people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, kind of, would you take a look at, would somebody take a look and tell me where Clinton College, what cities that one's in and Hodges is in? Because what I'm thinking of, it's like specifically Hodges, like, is that in a big city? Clinton is in
Clinton is in Rock Hill, which is a suburb basically of Charlotte.
Charlotte.
And then,
But it also shows, when I'm looking at the map, there's Winthrop University literally like 2 miles down the road from it. So they have a
Yeah.
close competitor when I'm
And a
looking at it
technical
on a map.
college too.
When I
Yeah.
looked up Rock Hill, it said, oh, it's a college town. And I was like, oh, interesting. But then it said it was a college town for Winthrop.
Yeah.
It did not mention.
So it kind of sits just outside of the city and kind of just is the backup of the big school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm kind of going at this is like Hodges and Clinton and some of these other universities that are kind of on that knife's edge of maybe being one hailstorm away from closing. If they leave, what happens to the city that they're in? What's going to happen? Because a lot of that tax revenue, a lot of those expenses, a lot of the economy of those small cities is absolutely reliant upon that university, the students, the faculty, the facilities being supported. And if that goes away, what happens to that town? And as somebody who grew up in a small town, who loves small towns, I just don't like losing a small town at all. We have a lot of universities in Kansas that are the anchors for small towns. I mean, obviously Sterling, Southwestern in Winfield, Tabor in Hillsboro. These are all communities that you go into, and they're beautiful little towns. And if that university closes, what's going to happen to that town? So it's important to me to do our best to safeguard it. And the only way we can do it is by providing information. Do you want to talk about what we're going to talk about next? Or because we had...
Yeah. So
stuff to come.
coming up shortly, we will be talking and diving even deeper into the statistics of it all and what we have been doing for the last few years, and how we've built this algorithm that can predict these school closures. We are currently redoing it. What are we doing?
We are currently we've pulled some new data. We're gonna rerun our calculations. We might have some slight changes here in a bit as we have new updated data with new 2024, 2025 data as that comes in. So we will hopefully have some slightly different numbers soon.
Well, and I think it's going to be interesting because, you know, our numbers from, and we can just call it the 2024 death pool, high level of confidence in those. But what we're doing for 2025 is we're really leveraging a lot of technology, automatically getting these data points fed into the cloud, I guess, and calculating it from there. So we're going to have numbers in as much real time as possible. People might not know this, but the financial information from these universities, they don't come in at one point, they trickle in through the year. So we're going to capture those as they trickle in, and it will shift things. And one of the things that we'll do is, as universities close, we'll use that, as we do, to help us validate the characteristics that lead to closure. So we have the new 2025 death pool coming out by, I'm going to say, the first week-ish of October.
Make me do work.
Deadlines we need right
Oh,
there.
man.
Yeah.
Put it in the notes. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna. It's just a week or two away, right?
Be able to track to see if these top schools stay on the top or
They
what
might not,
bottom
right?
schools may have rised up.
You never know.
Yeah.
Harvard might have seen these death pool things, and they're like, "We're gonna get them," and they surged up. You never know.
Yeah.
I think that they pay attention to us.
Yep.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Harvard's big fan of this podcast.
I think they follow us, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you went
for
there, you
sure.
know.
Awesome. So, okay, well, thanks so much for listening. We'll be back with you with all of those statistics and whatnot in our next podcast. But in the meantime, follow our social medias at University Death Pool on Instagram, TikTok. We also have a website that you can subscribe to catch all of our updates. But until then, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.